Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, want to seek the blessing of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna Balaram Bal Gopal Singh Dev Bhagavan Jagannath Baladeshwara Gaunitai Tulsimani Haridas Thakur Guru Parampara Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharaj and the assembled devotees. Continuing on chapter 11 of the 10th canto. So, yesterday we finished the pastimes of Lord Damodar and continuing on chapter 11, childhood pastimes of Krishna. Krishna every day and every moment displayed wonderful incidents to increase the affection of Yashoda and the gopis, who thus felt both surprise and joy. The gopis would say, "If you dance, my dear Krishna, I shall give you half a laddu." At such times, although he was supremely powerful, supreme personality of Godhead, he would smile and dance according to their desire, as if he was a wooden doll in their hands. Sometimes he would sing very loudly at their bidding. In this way, Krishna came completely under the control of the gopis. Sometimes they would order him to bring a wooden plank, wooden shoes, or a wooden measuring pot. Krishna, when thus ordered by the mothers, would try to bring them. Sometimes, however, as if unable to raise these things, he would touch them and stand there. Just to invite the pleasure of his relatives, he would strike his body with his arms to show that he had sufficient strength. In this way, he increased the pleasure of the Brajavasis by his childhood activities. This is such a wonderful painting, depicting how Krishna was bringing the shoe of Nanda Baba. Sometimes while worshipping Narayan, his father would ask the child to bring his wooden slippers. And Krishna, with great difficulty, would take the slippers on his head and bring them before the father. When he was asked to lift some heavy article and unable to lift such article, he would simply move his arms. In this way, daily at every moment, he was a reservoir of all pleasure to the parents. So the lesson to learn, although Krishna appears just as a baby, we must understand that he is the Supreme Lord, enjoying pastimes with his close devotees. He wanted to show the sages that he is controlled by the love of his devotees. This is such a powerful statement. One day, a fruit vendor approached Nand Maharaj's house. Krishna gathered some food grains with his little palms and went to the vendor to exchange the grains for fruit. On the way, almost all the grains fell from his palms. Only one or two grains remained. But the fruit vendor, out of full affection, accepted these grains in exchange for as much fruit as Krishna could take. As soon as she did this, her basket became filled with gold and jewels. Such a wonderful pastime. Such a wonderful pastime. What's a lesson to learn from this? The Lord is the bestower of all benedictions. If somebody gives something to the Lord, he is not the loser. He is the gainer. 1,000,000 times. Such a wonderful message again. This is such a delightful pastime. Once Rohini went to call Balaram and Krishna, who had both gone to the riverside to play with the other boys. As they were enjoying playing with the Gopas, they did not listen to her. So Rohini sent Yashoda to call them back. Yashoda would try to persuade them to return home by saying, "You must be tired playing so long. Please come back, as you have not eaten since morning, because of playing all day. Your bodies have become covered with dust and sand. Therefore come back, take your bath and cleanse yourself. Today the moon is conjoined with the auspicious star of your birth. Therefore be pure and give cows in charity to the Brahmins. Your father is waiting for you." She then took them by the hand and brought them home, where she performed her duties by fully bathing them, dressing them and feeding them. So one day, Krishna and Balaram were playing with their friends, but it was time for them to come back home to take their lunch. But even after Mother Yashoda called them, they wouldn't return. Krishna's friend told him, "If you go, we will not play with you tomorrow because you will ruin our game if you go in the middle." Yashoda was thinking, "What should I do? Krishna will be hungry." Then she got an idea. She said, Krishna Balaram, you better come right now because Ho below is coming. Now, Ho below is a monster that make believe monster. Of course, there were demons around, but this was a make believe monster that Mother Yashoda invented and in order to scare little Krishna, and it did. So the lesson to learn is Yashoda Mai is very clever. So these are wonderful paintings depicting Brajalila. Thereafter, all the elderly Gopas, led by Nanda Maharaj and Upananda, the elder brother of Nanda Maharaj, decided to leave Gokul because they saw that in Gokul there was always some disturbance by demons such as Putana and Trinivarta, trying to harm Balaram and Krishna. They decided to go to the beautiful Vrindavan. Between Nandeshwar and Mahavan, Vrindavan is very suitable because it is lush with grass, plants, creepers for the cows and other animals. It has nice gardens and is full of facilities for the happiness of all Gopas and Gopis and our animals. The next day, they all departed. So, this is them going from Gokul. So many demons were coming from Mahavan that Upananda, Nand Maharaj's older brother, suggested that they move from Gokul to Vrindavan. So everyone agreed, and when Krishna was 2 years, 2 months, they all moved to Vrindavan. Lesson to learn: sometimes when things just don't change favorably, we have to move on. Often things don't work out the way we want them to work out or plan them to work out. What to do? Keep bashing our heads against the wall, but all we get is a headache. So sometimes you just have to say, okay, let's move on. Keeping all paraphernalia on the bullock carts and keeping all the cows in front, the Gopas sounded bugles and, accompanied by their priests, began their journey. As they rode, they began to chant with great pleasure the pastimes of Krishna. Thus, hearing about the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great pleasure, Mother Yashoda and Rohini Devi, so as not to be separated from Krishna and Balaram for even a moment, got up with them on one bullock cart. In this situation, they all looked very beautiful. In this way, they entered Vrindavan, and when Balaram and Krishna saw Vrindavan, Govardhan, and the banks of the river Yamuna, they both enjoyed great pleasure. In Vrindavan, both Krishna and Balaram, after finishing their childhood pastimes, began to take charge of the calves, send them to the pasturing grounds, Gocharan, and began to tend the calves. So, at this time, Krishna and Balaram were given charge of the calves. The boys are training in this from their very beginning of their childhood. So, along with the other little cowherd boys, they went into the pasturing ground and took charge of the calves and played with their playmates. The two brothers sometimes played on their flutes, and sometimes they played with amalika fruits and bale fruits, just like small children play with balls. Sometimes they danced and made tinkling sounds with their ankle bells. Sometimes they would imitate cows and bulls and fight with one another, roaring loudly. Sometimes they would imitate the voices of the animals. So this is wonderful pastimes. From a young age, a lesson is it is nice if we can learn to help our parents, because that's what they were doing from a young age. This is Krishna Balaram and the Gopas. That's so a nice portrait there. Krishna loves cows. Radharani loves cows. Okay. When Krishna was 2 years, 2 months, Vatsasura took the form of a calf, approached Krishna like in a childish devising manner by mingling with the other calves to kill him. So Vatsasura came as a calf. Looking very cute, he tried to fool Krishna and he pretended that he didn't know. Krishna pretended that he didn't know. He gave the calf the attention, but suddenly Krishna grabbed the calf and swirled it around and smashed the demon against a special fruit tree, Kapita. Well, it was just before lunch, so that provided a reason to get the fruits out of the tree. And they enjoyed lunch with those fruits. Lesson to learn. Krishna doesn't use his Sudarshan Chakra, especially in Vrindavan. He doesn't use weapons to kill the demons so as not to disturb his friends. So Vattasura represented a childish mentality of deception which will block progress in spiritual life. Simplicity and straightforwardness is the answer. Upon seeing the dead body of the demon, all the cowherd boys exclaimed, "Well done, Krishna, very good, thank you." In the upper planetary system, all the demigods were pleased and therefore they showered flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One day, all the boys, including Krishna and Balaram, each boy taking his own group of calves, brought the calves to a reservoir of water, desiring to allow them to drink. After the animals drank water, the boys drank water there also. Then the boys saw a gigantic body resembling a mountain peak, broken and struck down by a thunderbolt. They were afraid even to see such a huge living being. That great-bodied demon was named Bakasura. He had assumed the body of a duck with a sharp beak. There he is, Bakasura. So he's known as a stork demon. He swallowed Krishna, and all his friends were shocked. Krishna became unbearably hot inside the stork. That Bakasura vomited, and Krishna came out completely fresh. Bakasura tried to stab him, but Krishna danced. Krishna pulled the beaks apart, split Bakasura, and killed him. Everyone celebrated. So, lesson to learn: Krishna is so attractive that even his killing the demons was artistic. Everything he does is so gracious and amazing. After playing on the banks of the Yamuna, the Gopas would arrive home and speak about Krishna's glories and victorious activities to Nanda and the elders. Thinking that the child Krishna was saved from the mouth of death, they began to see his face with great love and affection, giving him lots of hugs and thanking Lord Hari. Due to their intense love for Krishna, the Vrajavasis would not believe that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but was saved by Hari. And the lesson to learn: the Vrajavasis love Krishna so much that even if they would think that Krishna is God or not, it doesn't matter. He's ours. He belongs to us, not that he belongs to God. Chapter 12, Killing of Aghasura. One day, Krishna woke up early and blew on his bugle to call his friends to play. At that time, hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys came out of their respective homes in Brajbhumi and joined Krishna, keeping before them their hundreds and thousands of groups of cows. As they entered the forest, they decorated themselves with fruits, green leaves, bunches of flowers, peacock feathers, and soft minerals. They would play various games, of which Krishna would be the center. Some imitated the buzzing of bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of the cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds, some imitated swans, some jumped into the trees imitating monkeys. Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each saying, I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first. In this way, they would enjoy life by repeatedly touching Krishna. What extraordinary pastimes. Yogis undergo severe austerities and penances for many births, but they may still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. How greatly fortunate are the inhabitants of Brajabhumi, Vrindavan, with whom the Lord personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face. While they were enjoying their picnic, Agasura, the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura, appeared there, desiring to kill Krishna and his companions. The demon who had been sent by Kamsa assumed the following form. Agasura was a huge python as thick as a big mountain and as long as 8 miles. He spread his mouth like a big cave in the mountains, and laying down on the road expecting to swallow Krishna and the cowboys. His lower lip rested on the surface of the earth. His upper lip was touching the clouds in the sky. The borders of his mouth resembled the sides of a big cave in a mountain. The middle of his mouth was as dark as possible. The tongue resembled a broad traffic way. His breath was like warm wind, and his eyes blazed like fire. What a form. Having assumed this feature, Agasura lay on the ground, on the road. Krishna's friends, the cowherd boys, thought that the demon's form was one of the beautiful spots of Vrindavan. They were thinking, this looks like a little bit like a mountain. Krishna's friends questioned each other about the identity of the demon. Is this creature dead? Or is it actually a living python with its mouth spread wide, just to swallow us all? They were not scared because they knew Krishna was there. Krishna always protected them. The gigantic figure of the python became a subject for their sporting pleasure. They began to laugh, confident that even if the figure was dangerous, Krishna was there to protect them. In this way, they proceeded towards the mouth of the gigantic figure. Thus they looked at the beautiful face of Krishna, the enemy of Bakasura, and laughing loudly and clapping their hands, they entered the mouth of the python. So at this moment, Agasura was seeing the mood of the Gopas, and he was thinking himself, just for a moment, he was just thinking, what it would be like to be one of the Gopas. That's it. Just for one moment, right? Anyway, Krishna knew everything about Agasura, and therefore he wanted to forbid his friends to enter the demon's mouth. But in the meantime, all the cowherd boys, along with their groups of calves, entered the mouth of the gigantic figure. Krishna was waiting outside. Agasura was waiting for Krishna, thinking that as soon as Krishna enters, he would close his mouth so that everybody would die. While waiting for Krishna, he refrained from swallowing the boys. In the meantime, Krishna was thinking of how to save the boys and kill Agasura. Thus he entered the mouth of the gigantic Asura. When he was within the demon's mouth, along with his friends, Krishna expanded his body. The demon also extended his own body to a very large size. Nonetheless, his breathing stopped and he suffocated because Krishna's body became too big. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. After this, Krishna, by casting his nectarian glance upon his friends, brought them back to life, and with pleasure they all came out unhurt. Thus Krishna encouraged all the demigods, and they expressed their pleasure and happiness. When Lord Brahma heard the wonderful ceremony going on near his planet, accompanied by music and songs and sounds of Jai Jai, he immediately came down to see the function. Upon seeing so much glorification of Lord Krishna, he was completely astonished. Although Agasura's purpose was to kill Krishna, for a moment, Agasura thought of Krishna with devotion. That was when the Gopas were going in. He saw the happiness of the Gopas, and he thought, what would it be like to be a Gopa friend of Krishna? And Krishna and his associates wanted to sport within Agasura's mouth. Anyway, anyone who thinks of Krishna, even for a moment, or even by force, can attain salvation. There are many instances of this, and among them is Agasura, who attained the salvation of Sarupya Mukti, an associate of the Lord. So when Krishna defeated the demon, he went back to the spiritual world. And it is said that that moment when he thought what it would be like to be Krishna's friend was enough to give him salvation. Apart from Lord defeating him anyway. When this pastime was performed, Krishna was only 5 years old. 1 year later, when he was 6 years old, and he stepped into the Pauganda age, this pastime was disclosed to the inhabitants of Braj. Maharaj Pariksit inquired, why is it that this pastime was disclosed only after 1 year? And yet the inhabitants of Braj thought it had been performed that very day. With that question, the 12th chapter ends. Ecstatic Sukadeva Goswami externally lost consciousness. Thereafter, with great difficulty, revived his external sensory perception, began to speak. So, very interesting. So we've done this pastime. And this cave of Agasura was 8 miles long snake. His elder siblings were Putana and Bakasura. He wanted revenge for their killing by Krishna. Anyway, what's the lesson? Krishna always protects his devotees because they simply depend on him. They have nobody else. So Krishna is obliged to defend, to protect. Not just obliged, he wants to do that because he loves his devotees, because they have no one except him. So, any questions, any comments? Otherwise, we can stop. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki jai.